Boom. Right. So it is the T20 World Cup. We're going straight in. Have you been having a great tournament, Jamie?
Personally, yeah. I've been
Yeah.
mashing it.
Yeah. We haven't been doing the fantasy cricket this time for all our beloved listeners, for my happiness.
Honestly, for my happiness too.
But how would it even work with this tournament? I mean, it's just going to spoil us, but it's just you'd have to wake up at 1:30 in the morning to do half the games to just try and change the team over. It's just not
I mean,
fantasy cricket friendly.
to be honest, like the last one, I was jaded to do that fantasy one because
We need it, yeah.
partly I don't want you to win because you're unbearable when you do win. And I've got a reputation to hold
Of
of
whole,
having won the previous three before that.
yeah.
So
We
like,
needed a break.
yeah, and like you're waking up to, oh, they're 80 all out. I've got a total of 20 points from that game, but that's still good.
I guess, yeah, needed a break from it, just because there's just so many of these tournaments. Um, but there's also the biggest big game today, which we've jumped straight on to talk about. Um, so Oman and Scotland. So Oman got 150 for seven. I'm doing it from their 20 overs. Scotland 153 for three from 13, going well over 10 and over, which is absolute scenes. Brandon McCullum, 61 off 31 balls, strike rate of 196.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
good.
good going,
Like
that.
they showed a pretty decent strike rate against England as well, so they've definitely got the batting. I would
Yeah.
say depth, but they've barely shown the depth because the top order's
Yeah.
doing so
Yeah. Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see how their openers did.
And to be fair, Oman with the what was it 150, 150.
150 for seven. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a pretty decent score for
Decent
this World Cup.
score, yeah. For the 100%. Yeah, and the fact that Scotland not got off in 13 overs
Yeah.
is yeah, so George Munsey, yeah, 41 off 20 balls opening the batting. Um and I think he got runs the other day, didn't he? So he got
Mhm.
um 41 against England as well. So yeah, we'll get to that later, but that's not good news for England. But what's also not good news for another team is Pakistan. They lost today to India in this small little other game that was going on. I don't think many other people noticed.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
people give that much of a shit about this game.
no. So the prologue to this game, I suppose, is the fact that Pakistan lost to USA in one of the most balmy games I've ever seen. I think as we discussed over the weekend, because we played cricket together. And when it happened, it was basically both teams looked like they were trying to lose the game and who was going to bottle it most. Um, but I mean, credit to USA. Um, Smashed it. That super over from Mohamed Amir was
Yeah.
again still one of the worst overs I've ever seen. But getting 18 from the super over, defending that, it's probably one of the biggest giant killers in cricket history, maybe.
I no, I think it just is. Like,
It is, yeah.
yeah, like USA, you don't even consider them a cricket nation.
Yeah.
You're thinking of cricket teams to rattle off, and you'll get to Papua New Guinea and Oman before you get to USA. You probably won't even name USA.
No.
So
Probably, yeah.
it's got to be
Yeah,
the biggest upset in cricket ever, surely.
for sure. And I think like if it had been it's kind of associate. I mean, this is again still part of the prologue. The world has changed. I think that it probably is if it was another team, they would have coasted that game, I think, against Pakistan, because I think in the middle overs they didn't have it wasn't the run rate wasn't that high. Um, but then I think just the occasion, the skill of some of Pakistan's bowlers did come to the fore, and the fact they got it to a super over was, quite credit to them again. But I think, another team probably would have made it home within the 20, but they won the super over, and that's what counts. Um, so yeah, Pakistan lost. Wheels are off. They obviously came off the. They also came off. They had a struggle against England in the T20s here, which I'm sure everyone watched. Um, so they lost two out of two there. Lost to USA before this as well. They'd had a lot of drama around the captaincy. Shaheen was the T20 captain, and now it's Baba, and now they are again, and then they asked Shaheen to be vice captain. He didn't. He turned it down. A lot of coach changes and personnel staff changes behind the scenes. Just feels a bit turbulent camp. So there's a lot of that stuff going on behind the scenes. Then you have the ground this one's at. I suppose New York has been heavily scrutinized, especially after India played there for the first time against Ireland. Um, Not a lot of runs in this pitch, you could say. Um, and then that leads into the game perfectly because India were all out for 119. Wow. Kind of expected. I didn't expect many runs in this game, but I thought Pakistan bowled well. Did you see much of the India innings? Because it was delayed quite a lot because of rain.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I caught the back end of the Indian innings just because, like, when it gets delayed, you're like, oh, okay, I can go and do other stuff, and you're like, oh shit, they're 15 overs in.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, like it seemed to have set Pakistan up for a decent recovery and to get them back on track for the rest of the group, maybe.
Yeah, and World Cup in general not go
Yeah.
out.
And like they did end the USA game bowling quite well, like Shaheen, Amir, and I forget who would have the final over, but
Harris
th
Ralph, I think.
yeah, like those last three overs especially were really good death bowling. And like
Yeah.
for the most part, their bowling was good here as well. Like I'm sure the
Oh, for
pitch
sure.
helped. I think the pitch changed
Yeah.
from innings to innings again, but
Yeah. And I changed at different stages as well because like it was a bit spicy first up because I think there would be a lot of rain and uneven bounce and stuff and some kind of poor shots. So India did were 19 for two at one stage, but then they kind of recovered back. Like it's also it's just good to see Rishabh Pant back as
yeah,
well. Just the flair and the way he plays. He was he. I'm not going to say lucky because I'll get scrutinized. He had chances. There are a few kind of skews in the air and a few catches that could have gone to hand or could have stuck, but I think a lot of the chances that he gave were half chances, if anything. But he made 42 off 31 with Axar Patel at four, which is bizarre. The commentators at the time going wild that it was the highest score from an Indian number four since one of the World Cups, one of the last T20 World Cups, or some bizarre stat. I'm like just clutching at anything.
yeah,
Um, but then after that, it was capitulation because then Suryakumar Yadav out for seven, DB out for three, Pandya seven, Jadeja out first ball, Singh out for nine, Bumrah out first ball as well, and they kind of like stumbled along to 119. Um, Wickets for Shaheen one, Naseem three, Mohamed Amir two, Harris Ralph three, and that it was a kind of a showcase of how good Pakistan's bowlers can be. I know with the pitch and it helps, but they have got a very experienced bunch of guys.
yeah. Like we'll go on to the Indian bowlers, but you've got to use that pitch well
Yeah,
as well. Like you can't just be like, oh, the pitch is going to do all the work for me. You've got to put in the effort to bowl properly and use it to the most of your ability.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially against that batting lineup as well. Probably the favourites for the tournament, all that kind of stuff. Um, so to get them out for 119 is mad, and there were some very soft shots in it. I don't know whether you can blame the pitch too much, all that kind of stuff, because I don't know. We'll get onto it, but then Pakistan batted. Um, and it started in a way that I think up to about, I guess, the 12th over or 13th over, it just felt like they were just going well enough.
Mm.
Like they weren't taking unnecessary risks. They were going around about five, six and over, which is all they needed to do. Um, so you had Rizwan open up, got 31, um, and kind of batted quite nicely throughout the innings. Faka came in and kind of gave it some impetus to the innings. It just felt like, sure, it's going to be tricky, but it's only 120. It's a runner ball. You should be able to do that. Um, but then they were 113 for seven off their 20 and got in the end. I know it's only 7 runs, but it just felt they were nowhere close. That's mainly due to the fact that Naseem Shah got 10 off four at the end. Um, but I think the main talking point from it is Bumrah, I would say.
I mean, sure, let's go with that.
Four overs, 3 for 14 for Jasper. Um, I think that's a turning point. So he came on whatever over it was and bowled Rizwan. So from 80 for 3 to 80 for 4. And then he bowled the penultimate over when he needed 20 off 2 overs. And I think he only went for about maybe 4 or something like that and got the wicket of Iftikhar. So he's just a class above
Yeah.
and he kind of just showed it. And I think other players like I'm kind of throwing people like Baba under the bus, but like the other day I was a bit critical to be like I feel like he probably should have batted the super over and take responsibility as captain personally. If you're going to be open, I know he's not traditionally the most aggressive type, but I don't know. I think that kind of leadership, or at least be in the top three for the super over. Maybe I'm talking out my butt, but I just feel like this is a game where you needed Baba to bat through like Rizwan did, take that responsibility, take that experience, and do that. Same for Faka as well, experienced player out for 13. Um, but I think that was a terrific catch from Pant as well, though. But it just felt like Bumrah was just the epitome of experience, just delivering time and time again. I can't really ever remember a time when Bumrah's not delivered, to be honest.
Yeah, he's always in so much control. Like the commentators were saying on his final over, like he's the one in control of the situation. He's not letting
Yeah,
the batters have anything from that.
yeah,
But I also thought Siraj and Arshdeep in their final overs,
yeah,
like again, similar to Pakistan's last three against USA, the last 3 overs in the second
yeah.
inning, this game, the bowlers were all fantastic. And like, if not for Shaheen doing a little rant and
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
like his second forwards up so high that you thought, oh shit, is it gonna double six time?
Yeah, it was
But
for a second you can see of Cody's face as well, just sort of like, oh,
yeah,
that was close.
yeah. But it's like it's a running motif in these tournaments that either one of or both Rizwan and Baba don't show up. They'll always
Yeah,
get start. They never really push on. Baba, especially in the last couple of tournaments.
yeah,
And I like Faka coming in helped them steady the ship a little bit, but you could sort of see the wheels come off when Usman came in at three. Like he never seemed settled. He seemed
no,
jittery and a bit on edge. Like Rizwan went to him and spoke to him a couple of times, that
yeah,
it never really settled him down. That sort
yeah.
of that just permeated through the rest of the batting lineup, and none of them, besides Rizwan. Would you say Babel was settled?
And
Rizwan,
was he's only in 10 balls. Was he enough time to be settled, I
yeah,
guess?
but like
I don't
composed,
know.
like other than Rizwan and Thacker, I wouldn't say any of the other
No, not really.
really gave you confidence that they would go on. But
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot, both Rizwan and Baba were out to Bumrah as well by, terrific balls and stuff like that. But again, even with Bumrah, I know I'm going back to Bumrah and stuff and going away from the Pakistan batting, but like there's that penultimate over, we bowled like a full toss, but it was like so quick and still on like the legs that there was like literally nothing still to do about it. Like it's even when he's not quite nailing the ball, it still feels unplayable, and especially on this kind of pitch, which feels like a bit of a landmine or unpredictable, keeps low, whatever he's the last bowler you want to face, and a lot spoken about India and their bowlers and how they're just going to spin their way to this trophy. But they only bowled 2 overs from Jadeja and Axar, so two for Jadeja, two for Axar, 1 wicket for Axar, none for Jadeja. It was about their seamers, and I guess that's maybe the pitch. Um, but yeah, I'd say you're right. I mean, there was nothing from Pakistan other than Rizwan where I felt they had it fully under control. They were going nicely, but I never felt like they had the game at the scruff of the neck. Like there was never that kind of impetus of like, let's start well, let's have like say 50 off the power play and be pretty much there. It just felt like, oh, we just have to be careful, go at fives and sixes, and we will eventually get there. Um, because like there was a point I switched off for me dinner, and like they needed about 7 and over. And I thought, okay, there's 7 overs if that's fine. And I came back and suddenly it was 30 off three. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's it then.
that went quick.
Um, yeah. And that's what I love about low scoring games as well, because it's so much is in it and so much can change so quickly. Um, so yeah, it's I'd say a lot of it down to skill, especially of Bumrah. But like you say, everyone else has to chip in as well. That last over from Arshdeep, who was their most expensive bowler, it did still kill the game immediately. There was, even though Nassim managed to get that six and the four. Was it two fours? It was two fours, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was at the stage that mattered. Like it was inconsequential. It's like, okay, have a little hit, but it's not going to happen, is it? Um, but yeah, I mean, would you say from an Indian perspective, is that a comeback that will make them feel as though they can go on and win this, or will they take more from the fact that they had such a monumental collapse to 119 all out, and it could have been a bit of rug under the carpet? Would it be like, oh, we managed to win that game, or was it a bit like, oh,
well, I
not
think
good enough?
they would have been aiming to win the tournament already before it started.
Hmm.
So I don't think they'll be looking at that. They'll be positive in that they've won it, but I think if you're being ruthless, if you want to be as successful as India want to be, because they've not been
Hmm.
successful in the last 10 years,
Yeah,
you have to look at that as something to build on. Like
yeah,
you can't be winning a tournament with that sort of collapse. You can't be relying on your bowlers to do something incredible to bail you out. They need to reassess and
yeah.
like figure out a way to play on this pitch because I'm sure this won't be the last time they play on this pitch.
I
They
think they
might,
got one more in this game. Yeah,
yeah, I think it might even be their next game.
USA, I think Wednesday or something. Yeah,
Yeah, so you've got to prepare. Maybe this game will help them
yeah.
throughout the rest of the tournament because they know what to expect from this pitch and what other pitches could do in the US. I think it's only the Texas pitch, which is a proper shot
Decent.
to
Yeah, it
drop
seems to be
in.
runs there. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the we were discussing the other day. I think that's the only permanent stadium.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, again would agree. Um, but yeah, I think the batting has got to be the concern. I quite like Pant at three. But sending in Axar Patel is almost as weird as bowling Will Jacks yesterday. It's like I know he got 20, but I feel like you're better. Like Suryakumar Yadav should be up there and seeing as many overs as he can. Because it's obviously a
Like,
difficult pitch to start on.
because you're also having Kohli open, which, like, Kohli is
Yeah,
Kohli, so obviously he can do, but it just
yeah,
feels weird not having an actual opener
like a Gill or
job.
yeah, KR
Yeah.
Hall.
Like,
Yeah,
I thought it was strange that Thakkar came in at four when he, like, I
normally
associate
opens one.
him with three opening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Weird choice. I mean, Cody opens in the IPL, but I think pretty much everyone opens the IPL. Um, I do think, we talk a lot on our IPL special episodes. You should check
Hmm.
those out if you haven't already. But I think the IPL does do India a bit of a disservice here in the fact that they've just come off one of the highest scoring IPLs in history, or the highest scoring, where their teams are getting scores like 260 and stuff like that, where the pitches are absolute roads and people can just hit through the line easy peasy. And now they're coming to pitches that are a lot more tricky and are not what they've been playing on for the last 2 months. And they've got to try and find different ways. And obviously they're good enough players and they'll adapt. But I think this is kind of a showcase that, they're not the team they would be in India, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah,
But I
like,
guess that's always the case.
are they contracted to not play for other franchise leagues as
Yeah.
well? So, like, there's no wonder why they struggle on other, like, foreign countries' pitches because they just don't have the experience on it. But
Yeah.
they're not even allowed to have the experience on it, even if they
No,
want
exactly.
to.
Yeah. I think as soon as they're out of contract, I think, that's why people like Pujara's been able to play for Sussex and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure. Um, or it might just be other franchises. If anyone wants to let us know in the comments, um, to correct us, you can. But I'm pretty sure Kohli was down to play for Surrey at one point as well. But I imagine it must be franchise tournaments that
Yeah.
would rival the IPL effectively. Um, but yeah, I think it showcases, especially with players playing their first tournaments or not playing a tournament in a while. Pants only just come back from a really almost career-ending injury and from that car crash. So it's it takes a lot of time. I think, they will. I think there will be a team that really picks up the pace and grows as the tournament grows. Because they're just too good, and people like Bumrah can just adapt to any stage, and people like Kohli will as well. Um, but yeah, I'd imagine they would go close to all the way. Um, but injured tend to always have a kind of innings like that in them in a World Cup. Um, you just got to remember that kind of that semi-final in Australia against England when they didn't get something like 150 or something, and then England knocked them off, none down. Um, yeah, they just they may feel better that they've had this performance now rather than later down the line. So we will see. Just quickly though, Pakistan, I I think that's pretty much curtains. Um, because if we look at the group, so India are now top. Um, 2 wins from two, net run rate of 1.4. USA are second, 2 wins from two, net rate of zero point 0.6. Canada are third, 1 win from two after they beat Ireland the other day, which is quite a big score, one for them. And then Pakistan and Ireland both winless. Ireland have got the worst run rate. Um, but yeah, Pakistan have got Canada and Ireland to play. Canada fresh off a win, so you wouldn't really discount that off what USA did. And Ireland, I wouldn't think they would be as poor as they would have been in the first two games. They feel like they probably have something to prove. Whilst USA only really need to beat Ireland, and I think they're pretty much confirmed.
Yeah. And like Ireland haven't shown anything to convince me
No,
that they could beat USA.
yeah,
Like you said, they've got the second worst net run rate of any
yeah,
team in the tournament.
yeah.
The
I mean,
worst
it was just,
being
yeah.
the worst being a mad -4.2 with New Zealand.
I forgot about that. I mean, we're probably not
Yeah,
gonna have time, but the fact they absolutely got hammered by Afghanistan, it wasn't even just like a close game. That
but
was absolutely destroyed by Afghanistan. It was mental. But yeah, okay. Um, yeah.
that
So with
that
this,
group that group is sorted, isn't it?
which group? The Group
Group
A,
A, yeah, it's India and US, isn't it?
which is great. If US get through for, I guess, for a home World Cup, for USA to get through would be great, and to see them that the sport build there is cool. It'd be very interesting to see how they do against India,
Mhm.
especially being still at New York as well. Um, I think it could be a really interesting game. I was fully expect India to win, but you never know. Um, yeah, I'm very excited to see how that goes. India have got Canada as well, so again, you probably would expect India to go through unbeaten. Um, but yeah, Pakistan, they need to grab a win from somewhere. They need to grab 2 wins from somewhere, but even then, that might not be enough because it all would it at least come down to net run rate. Um, and if USA have two decent games, still lose but still play well, they'd still be fine. So we'll see. But I feel like it would, from a neutral perspective, it would have been funny if Pakistan had won today, and then you had USA still top, and then India and Pakistan on two, and then it definitely comes down to net run rate later. Think that would have been great fun. But yeah, India USA, I think
Nailed on.
you'd have thought,
Yeah.
yeah. um, I'll blitz through the other groups before we get to the second talking point. Any other points about the game that's probably watched by about 1 billion people?
Honestly, about the same for a lot of the other matches. It's just a bit. It's not really exciting me.
There was nothing. Yeah, this game. I thought maybe it was going to get quite close at the end. I thought, oh, this could be a really good game to
Yeah.
review, and it just sort of again petered out, and it's like, oh, okay,
And like
yeah,
you're kind of expecting that to happen before the games as well. And it's
yeah. I know it's a
like
bit weird, and it's a weird World Cup. Um, that's why we've not really done that much before. But like, it, it's a strange one again, because especially because you're considering that there will be a lot of people watching this game. I thought at one point it was going to get rained off, and that would be funny
yeah.
as well. Um, don't know. It's is what it's the big occasion of the tournament. A lot of people watch it and get stuff out of it, but like you say, it wasn't like the game in the previous World Cup, which was kind of a bit of an all-timer at the MCG, where Kohli basically single-handedly won a game. Um, but oh well. I don't think they're going to be playing again against each other in this tournament. So that's it until the Champions Trophy next year. Um, can't wait. So yeah, if you've got any other thoughts about the India and Pakistan game, let us know. I don't really know what else there is to say. It's good to see Pant back, and I think it was a Bumrah masterclass. And that's my nutshell.
Yeah, sums it up. Pakistan just bottling it.
Um, surprise.
Yeah.
That would you say? I mean, obviously, losing to USA is feels like a bottle. Would you think? Just my final question: is this a bot more of a bottle though, because they only had 120 to win, and the game
I
was they had the game? I don't. I know the USA is a big shock and that's huge, but I feel like this game, when you bowl out a team like India with still an over to spare, that's 120 to win.
I would say in the context of the two, I think they come out about the same in terms of
Yeah,
bottling average.
bottle. Oh, poor
I
Pakistan.
don't know because they brought it back against USA only to be uh
That super
with
over was
super over,
nuts.
and then the super over itself was unbelievable.
Yeah,
And then like having a low scoring game, they could have
yeah.
were looking good for it until the bottle came out again. It's
Poor Pakistan. Never mind.
a shame.
So so that's Group A sorted. We'll quickly blitz. We'll come back to Group B. Group C. Um, so we mentioned Afghanistan absolutely smashed New Zealand. New Zealand being firmly bottom of that group with a minus 4.2 net run rate. Uganda won a game against Papua New Guinea. I believe it's Papua New Guinea. Um, yes,
Yeah.
won by 3 wickets with 10 balls remaining. A really monumental first time win for them. That's huge. But then they were 39 all out against West Indies yesterday. So it's win some, you lose some, literally. So
Oh, and
currently top at,
like excuse me, slight uh mistake. Uganda actually have the worst net run rate at 4.217.
oh, they do, yeah. So, but they are third,
Yeah, which is better than
New
last.
Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And New Zealand have West Indies next, and I really think West Indies are. I think they're really hitting their stride quite nicely in this tournament. So, I mean, they've only played Uganda and Papua New Guinea. They did almost. It was a bit squeaky bum time against Papua New Guinea, but they got the job done. And it's at home for them.
Just
Um,
nice to have them back as well, isn't it?
it's yeah, it's good. They should be in this tournament. It's ridiculous they shouldn't be. But yeah, New Zealand wise, it's weird that they've um only played the one game. They were last team to play, and their next game against West Indies, but West Indies played yesterday, so that's still a long wait for New Zealand to play their second game. So feels quite difficult for them to get any kind of momentum. Um, but yeah, Afghanistan looking pretty set to progress with that net run rate and 2 wins from two. Only would really need to beat Papua New Guinea, which you'd expect them to do. And West Indies have Afghanistan and New Zealand, so there is a chance New Zealand can still make it through. Um, but they have to win the last 3 games. I'm glad that there's this kind of it's. I was worried it was going to be quite clear cut of who's going
Mhm.
through and what, but it seems a bit more questionable. Um, last group, Group D, South Africa are currently top with 2 wins from two, but they did kind of narrowly win against. I say narrowly against Netherlands. They won with 7 balls remaining, but it that was also quite close. Netherlands only got 103. Again, this is at New York, so what do you expect? Netherlands got 103 for 9. And at one stage, South Africa were 3 for 3. So a bit close. And then 88 for 6. But it was David Miller who got 50, I believe, 59 or 51. So again, a bit like Boomer, an experienced head saw them home. Um, And yeah, where did I go to? What else is happening in these groups? Sri Lanka are bad. Um, 2 losses from two. that's pretty much them gone. I'd reckon. I'd
Yeah.
guess the last spot is between Netherlands and Bangladesh. Bangladesh have a game in hand against Netherlands, and but they have South Africa next. That could be interesting, maybe. Um, so South Africa definitely, and then maybe Bangladesh, Netherlands, probably Bangladesh. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything about those other groups?
Bit funky, isn't it?
It's frustrating because I think they're funky, and I think on paper it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's kind of a lot to play for. But then when it comes to the actual games, I'm just sort of like,
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the actual quality of the players is on show at the minute.
yeah, feels like they're all tired because they've just
Uh,
played 2 months of the IPL.
yeah, just
But
kind of
yeah, mate,
giving it as
yeah,
little effort as they can while still being as competitive as possible.
being as good as they can until it gets to the stage where they have to
Yeah,
just, yeah, pretty much. Cool.
should just fuck it off like Pakistan.
Well, England have very nearly done that, and that's what we'll talk about next. England, then.
Bit shit, innit?
Right, mate, I'm going to say this straight away. I don't like this team. I
In
I don't
what
know if that's
in what sense? In like personality or uh,
a bit
tactical
of
setup and quality and
I think a bit of everything.
yeah, fair.
Um, I think just mentality wise, I just think the group has just run a bit. Again, it's kind of that England vibe of like mates and stuff, that kind of
Mm.
thing. But when I watched bits of the game yesterday because I gave up after a while because it was just crap. Um, I'm salty, aren't I? Because it's Australia, salty, salty, salty. Feel salt. Um, I there was just so many occasions when we were when England were bowling, um, where it was just so much finger pointing and
Mhm.
just blaming others. Like there was a particular one point from Jordan, um, where there was a boundary I think went over cover, and he was like gesticulating like, "Why is there not a fielder out there? Why have we
Mhm.
not got the field right?" It's like this is a guy now of 120 wickets in international cricket. You should be knowing where you're bowling, where your fielders should be going. If you think the field's not quite right, get Joss to change it before the ball.
Mhm.
Don't then bowl the ball and then look for an excuse. It just seems a bit weak mentality. Um,
But then
then you've
we've
got
got, but like in the test series on Prime, you had Cummins being like, "This is the plan. Don't question the plan."
yeah,
It's like, are England leaning into that mindset, whether they are sticking to the plan no matter what, and Jordan is questioning
I feel that.
that?
I feel
But
like
like, I don't
maybe
think either way is right. It
no,
just sort of piles onto the shitness of it all.
yeah. There was another point as well where I can't remember who was bowling, who cares? But when the ball went through between Bairstow and Archer at one point,
Mhm.
and Bairstow was just annoyed that Archer didn't cut it off and stuff like that. It's like just stop trying to find an excuse and just take the blame
Mhm.
yourself. Just put your hand up and be like, "That was my fault. Sorry."
Yeah.
I just get the sense that they may give off all the social media vibe that they're loving it and what a friendly group and stuff we are. What a good time. But I just don't. I don't know if I buy it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I think Matthew Mott is very lucky to still be in a job. Um, and he's got another World Cup chance to go. And that's going splendidly for him. Um, Butler said before this tournament that internationals shouldn't be prioritized over the IPL. Um, so is that kind of telling you where his mindset's at? Um,
Are you saying you don't want your England captain saying that England is less important than
whoa, who knew?
club cricket?
It's just a lot of bit how you're going, isn't it? And there's so many selection issues because I already mentioned Chris Jordan being in this squad, let alone team, is questionable. Like, just as an example, Chris Jordan didn't start in the last T20 World Cup. He finished the tournament in the team, but he didn't start it. He wasn't one of the first players on the team sheet. Sam Curran was. Sam Curran was then player of the match in the final in 2022, and now he's not in the starting 11. And I don't really understand. I just feel like so much of it is being glossed over by Joffre's back, which is great. but I think the rest of it is just a bit turgid or just
Mm,
a bit not fun to watch. There wasn't really anything yesterday that I watched. I thought like that's really good to see.
mhm.
That's really innovative. It just feels like they're still just hanging on by the barest of margins to um get that. If you like cricket, you'll get that reference. I just feel like they're just hanging on to the Morgan glory years. But I think since the 2019 World Cup, I don't think this team's really done anything innovative. I know they won the thing like, a couple of times around, but made a lot of that was bringing in Alex Hales at like the 11th hour and that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I just don't get any sense that this team is a team. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. Like you look at the 11 that played against Australia, and there does seem to be a very clear like cliques in the team. Like you can like uh lump a couple of players into they're a friend group, they're a friend group. Uh, Mo's friends with everyone. Everyone loves Mo. That's
Yeah.
but like you can see a sort of just like little links that don't sort of click with everyone else.
Yeah.
And like I don't think either of us were that enthused with the Butler captaincy decision. And I
It
think
was just
all
very
of the
easy, wasn't it? You know?
yeah, and I think any sort of unrest in the camp is at it's down to the leadership. And that's the
Yeah.
captain, that's the coach, and that's the ECB.
Yeah.
Like whenever I've never seen anything fielding wise from Butler that's got me, oh like, oh
No.
that's a brilliant bit of field placement
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Like maybe that's partly because as a keeper you need to be a bit more focused ball to ball. But then
Yeah. But then does he need to keep then? Can he not just be a fielder and have someone like Salt or Bairstow keep and he can, if he wants to really be in the game as a captain, then don't keep.
sure. And then it just leads to like Jordan questioning the field,
Yeah.
like openly, which you don't want. Like you should be doing that. If you're going to do that on the pitch, do it
Yeah.
like face to face, close quarters, so it doesn't look like you're
Yeah.
openly
Questioning what's
admonishing.
going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just Butler just doesn't strike me as a leader of any sort. He's just the sort of just a
Yeah.
player. And I wouldn't
Yeah.
honestly, this is gonna be me, but like the only one I feel like is captain material from that. Like you could just give him the captaincy and people would just be fine with it. It's Joffre. I know it's insane, and I know it's a
I feel like we've
meme,
done a massive full circle from what it was 2 years ago.
but like who else in that team would you give the captaincy from the 11? Like
I'd go Brooke.
Mo,
Like,
Brooke, but like I feel like Brooks, he's got that dickhead energy as well. That
but I guess the thing with Brooke is that he's still young enough that you can build this team around. Joss has been in this white ball setup since 2012. And that's a lot of baggage.
yeah,
Like, there's some good stuff in that, but that's a lot of years. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of coaches, a lot of tactics. Game has completely changed. Is his heart still 100% in that? I don't think it is. Like, he's also so tetchy when it came to before the tournament started. Like, it was a BBC interview. I can't remember who was interviewing him. Um, they were asking, "Oh, do you know what your team is for tomorrow?" And he was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, he's like, we'll decide that tomorrow." I was like, okay. And then there was also they were like, oh, last time you said you didn't want to go into this tournament as defending champions. Has your mindset changed after the 50 over shambles? And he was like, we're not thinking about that. It's like just stop being so like shut off, and it
mhm,
just feels like the pressure is getting to them, or they're
yeah,
in this bubble and they're like, so like, no, we're so narrow
yeah,
focused, we must do this.
yeah.
Um,
Like even when like the difference between him and Stokes's presses
Chalk
and
and
interviews,
cheese.
like even if Stokes comes out with absolute nonsensical bullshit, he's at least going and giving you like sentences worth of stuff. He's going into
Yeah,
detail about why he believes his own bullshit.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like he's offering some charisma and Butler's just not.
Nothing,
No.
nothing. I've never got Butler again. It's one of we're not spoken about Australia yet. Australia fans are going to hate us. I Butler is one of England's best ever players in white ball cricket, without a doubt. Probably could be the best. Um, but like you say, there's never been a point from Joss's captaincy that I've gone, that's the guy. I know who's the leader of this team. Um, you just need someone like a Morgan who that Morgan team was 100% Morgan's side, and you knew that was Morgan's
Mhm.
side, and you also knew that he was the kind of guy who'd be relaxed and be full of praise. But if it went
Mhm.
wrong, that I feel like he would definitely be the guy to lead the,
Mhm.
you know, not a rant, but some real clear thinking in the dressing room afterwards. I just don't get anything from Joss.
Mhm.
Um, and it's there's so many weird decisions with this. Like Milan, for example, got a year contract, whatever these ECB contracts after that World Cup, and then hasn't played a game since.
Mhm.
Um, and they played most. I mean, the credit to them, I suppose, is that they picked basically this team for the West Indies tour and they stuck with it for the World Cup. Um, but it's just very messy. Like it's a lot of players again, like 50 over stuff over the hill rather than approaching it.
Mhm.
Like Bairstow, I think is beyond his. It should be focusing on, I think, just one form of a game, whether that be Red Bull 50 over or T20. And I just feel like he's juggling too much, and I think you're seeing the effects of that. Mo is this. It just feels way like definitely one tournament too far. Like he came in at
And you
five
say that
yesterday.
every tournament, like, not you
Yeah,
specifically, but like it's every World Cup or whatever tournament Mo is playing. It feels like,
yeah,
oh, did he not retire last time? Like
yeah.
it
But like,
feels
yeah,
like he should have stopped playing a few years ago, but he's always in there. And I feel like that's the same with Rashid as well. Like there's like
yeah,
half the team shouldn't really be playing. Like they've had their time. They're clearly like declining, and there are some new players coming in, and I think they're trying to give the impression that they're building a new team again without actually doing it.
building a
They're
team.
just drip feeding in a Phil Salt or a Liam
Yeah, it
Livingstone
feels
or a
sort of had
Harry
a
Brook.
yeah. Like Salt, for example, has had a brilliant year in T20
Yeah.
cricket for England. He got into the ICC Team of the Year, that kind of stuff. That if anyone cares about that. Um, but yeah, like you say, it's people like like, I think Rashid is still performing at a level which warrants him being in the best team. But Mo came in yesterday at five or something, just because we picked no left-handers in this team.
Mhm.
Um, when we needed about 12 and over. And Mo has never come in and had a maybe once or twice, but never in like a crunch World Cup game or a must-win game has he come in and got 70 off 30. You just knew he was going to come in and get about 16,
Mhm.
17. That'd be it. It's I just don't think he's at the stage of his career anymore where he is capable. I mean, I love Mo. This is like I can't say that enough. He's brilliant. Has had brilliant moments for England over the years, and he's obviously a brilliant guy. He does a lot for cricket and community and stuff and everything. But I think his time is well gone now. That's a shame. I mean, you got especially when you got a player like Will Jacks, who's a batting all rounder as well, and can do that Mo job if you want. I don't know, I don't want to hone in on Mo because I think Bairstow's been very scratchy as well. Chris Jordan again shouldn't be there. Again, you got Reece Topley, who's been England's white ball opening bowler for like the last 2, 3 years, and then he's not getting picked. I don't think Wood is really necessarily a white ball bowler. Like he went miles during the 50 over World Cup, and
Mhm.
then for some reason they thought that picking him here would be any different. It's just a bit. It's just I'm not even angry about it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
like,
and like those decisions all come back to the leadership again. Like
yeah.
it's not Mo's fault or Bairstow's fault that they're
Yeah, if
playing.
they want to be available to play for England and they get selected, they're not going to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you picked me."
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't think they should be playing, but if they're selected, they're gonna play.
Hmm.
But it's on
Yeah,
the leadership and the selectors and the captain to be in the right state of mind to know which players are the right ones
yeah,
to play. And they're
yeah.
clearly not doing that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I guess the question would be like who comes in, replaces them, and that kind of stuff. But if
Joffre.
you're I'm still talking about batting it everywhere, I guess. God, Joffrey can't do Joffrey could do everything. But I think if you're then questioning, oh well, who comes in after, then surely that's the bigger issue that you're not sure about who's the next cab up the rank. Like if you're then being like, I don't know who would come in for this player, then you're like, well, what's the issue then the next stage is
Mhm.
why don't you know that? But I think people like Sam Hain and Tom Abel, I know they're a bit more older players, but they could definitely come in and do a job. Um, there's 100% going to be other players across county cricket who could absolutely come into this side and not do any worse.
Yeah.
Like Bairstow's innings yesterday was just that it felt that's where the game kind of was lost,
Mhm.
basically. Like England were kind of up and about it. If anyone cares about the scores, Australia got a 200 or something, and then we lost by like 20. Um,
So like, I think it was lost before then. Like,
yeah, yeah,
like,
100%.
it was lost as soon as Australia finished their innings. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't watch the innings because I was on a train, but like, if they're getting 200 plus, it's fucking amazing.
yeah,
Like,
and no team's ever chased that down successfully.
yeah,
A
exactly.
score over 200 at the ground.
Yeah. So
Um,
you've got no confidence in England chasing that
no,
at all.
no.
But they
I mean,
did start really well. Like Butler and
yeah,
Salt were batting really well. But as soon as the first wicket fell, it was no, it's done. I don't see
dominoes,
how
isn't
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, I think the game was lost even before that. I think the game was lost in the first 5 overs. Um, Australia were 70 for none after 4.5 overs, which is just stupid. Like, Head got 34 off 18 balls, Warner got 39 off 16. Um, and it's just again these silly decisions. Like Mo opened the bowling, which he's done a lot, which is fine. You can have it. There's two left-handers in, bring an off spinner in, no problem. But then Jackson bowls the second one to a short boundary
Yeah.
to two left-handers and goes for 22. It's like, well, what do you expect?
Yeah. I completely forgot about that start because I actually sent you a little
Yeah,
screenshot of Australia being 51 after 3.5
yeah,
overs and South Africa being 52 after 11.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to sum up
The
the
duality
madness
of
of the
cricket
World
is,
Cup and
yeah.
how let's not say how shit England were, like how well Australia were doing.
Yes, so am I going to get in trouble again? Yes, good, but I do think England were more bad than Australia were good. Like Australia were very clinical, but the way that especially I think Australia were good throughout the game and had a very professional and clinical win. But I think England very much lost it in that first 5 overs. Like the way they bowled Jacks for mental reason, and of course they were going to target him for a short boundary. But then the bowling of Wood
Mhm.
absolutely, again, I'm going to sound like Ian Ward or something. There were no change ups, no nothing. It was just pace on, and that was just like, cool, that's fine. We'll have some of that. Similar a bit to Archer, who was a bit more pace. There wasn't any kind of um, let's adapt to this.
Mhm.
It was like you said earlier, is it just that we've got this plan? Our data says that we should bowl Jacks opening. Our data says that Warner doesn't like pace. We'll just bowl pace.
Mhm.
But then you're looking at the scoreboard and it's already 70 for none. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, okay, whoops.
Yeah.
I it was just the tactics were just all over the place. And of course Australia made complete hay of it. Like they would have been mad not to, I think. Like it was just given to him on the platter. I don't think Jack's really bowled that much in the IPL and he's not really bowled that much for England. And suddenly he's been given the second over. Like it's what are you doing? Maybe I'm getting angry now. But no, Australia did play well. Um, that Warner blitz and head blitz at the beginning, I think, won the game. Stoinis finished it off well. There was always points where England looked like they were clawing it back a bit, but then they were just,
Mhm.
there would be a boundary off the last ball of the over and that kind of stuff over and
Yeah.
over. But the bowling innings is 100% where they lost it. And then Australia bowled really well, Zampa
Yeah.
especially. Cummins, else do you expect from Cummins? 2 for 23 from four. Australia are just a very well-oiled team where for example, Mitch Marsh as captain is vibes that are good,
Mhm.
and for once that isn't even just a bit being like, oh yeah, just talk about vibes. They just have happy, good
Mhm.
vibes amongst that team around Mitch Marsh being a very likable guy as a captain. Um, and I don't know whether that's a thing for England to look at. Look, they've gone for someone like Mitch Marsh, who is a leader in that dressing room and a person that people all respect and enjoy the company of. Um, Maybe England need to have a look at themselves and try and find someone like that as well, because I don't think it's Butler.
So I can only think of one person who that would be.
Joffre it is.
Yeah, I mean, are you saying that like obviously everyone else loves Joffre? Like, come on, who in that team does not love Joffre and will just get on with him in the same way that the Australians just all get on with Mitch Marsh? And they obviously respect him. Like Morgan respected him enough to give him the super over in his first World Cup and just like bring him into the team without any international experience. Joffre's the man. I'm on the propaganda machine, and
So yeah, if you agree, let us know in the comments. Is that insane or is that good?
it's definitely insane. I don't, but name me a better option.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I would probably be looking even crazier and be like, I'd get someone from outside the team now and then go that way. Australia did it a long time ago. George Bailey came in, who wasn't really in the team that much, and then suddenly came in the team's captain. Um, I don't know. I think Matthew Mott's got to go first, and England could still be mental and go on and win this tournament. They won't. But I just think it just needs that refresh and revamp. Um,
But we've been saying that for
we said
ages
that it was
anyway.
after the last World Cup,
Yeah.
but somehow everyone's still here. Um, but yeah, just a quick note on the points table because I didn't mention it quickly, and this will be our last little scoop. Scotland beating Oman today is big for that group because again, England would have lost that game to Scotland. I don't care what anyone says or what Matthew Mott says. That kind of game where England had 103 to win off 10 overs, in that situation, they're not doing it. I've watched England too much to know that England would not do that. 100% no. And people, Matthew Mott can be like, "Oh, we had that game under control. We restrict them really well." Stop it. Um, then that was also a poor performance. Um, so Scotland winning means they're now top of the group. They have 5 points from three with the rained off game against England and a net run rate of 2.1. Australia are second, 2 wins from two, 4 points, a run rate of 1.8. And then England are fourth with a minus run rate of minus 1.8 with 1 point from two. Um, they have Oman and Namibia to play next, which they, should beat. Um, and Scotland only have Australia to play. But if Scotland don't lose badly, they would finish on 5 points, and England can only get 5 points. So England could still not get through because of
Mm.
net run rate, which I think is very interessante. Australia are nailed on going through because they've only got
Yeah.
Namibia and then Scotland. Um, but England are going to absolutely have to thrash Namibia and Oman by the standards that West Indies did today.
Mhm.
I think because I think Scotland have shown they've put up a good enough fight to be there or thereabouts and probably can stand up, not to win against Australia by necessarily, but to not get humbled.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I don't think it's looking good. And I think a group exit is almost, I feel like what this team needs.
It's the kind of thing that always like sparks a inquest, and well, you'd hope
Yeah,
it would, but
yeah.
I've never
If yeah,
trust England to actually go through with it.
a group exit means that Mott absolutely goes
Mhm.
100%,
Mhm.
and Butler stands down because he's too depressed about it anyway. Um, so yeah, fun times. But I'll look forward to our next episode where England top the group somehow.
Sure.
No.
We
Um,
You can live in your dream world of England still winning the World Cup, and I'll live in my dream Joffrey captain world.
yeah. I for the benefit of the tape, I don't think England are going to win this World Cup.
Cool. But I am pushing hard for Joffrey as captain.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We'll call it there then. Maybe our next episode will be a reaction when England are out of the World Cup, or
I
whatever
thought
next
I
thing comes up.
I don't I thought that was today's episode.
Feels like it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, well, this World Cup's weird in a nutshell. We may not have made much sense today, but because I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. Um,
Are you saying that my ramblings on Joffre being captain don't make any sense?
I'm saying the competition as a whole doesn't make a lot of
Cool,
sense.
cool. So you would
Maybe
do agree with me? I'm just trying to get that.
so. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on all our social medias. Where can people find us, Jamie?
Just not correct. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, other
All the
place that
places.
I always forget. There's
Yeah.
always a fourth one. Uh, somewhere else.
Threads. I've never posted on it. Um, yeah, if you've disagreed with anything we've said, please feel free to shout it in the comments. We'd love to see those. We'll be back at some point during this World Cup, maybe when something juicy happens. We'll see. If you also want to follow the Wicket Whippets, our season has started. Yay, Jamie.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. If you want to get involved, you're in London, you want to play some
Yeah.
cricket, drop us a line. You're very welcome. Um, but yeah, and we'll be back maybe within the next week. I don't know when any next play. Trying to get enthusiastic. Come on, the boys. I've not got much else to say. What anything else from you, Jamie?
I know. Maybe Australia can keep their lucky streak up.
Australia played very well and deserved to win. Well done. The Maxwell's crap though, isn't
Bit lucky to get that 200, ain't
he?
he?
We'll see you in the future, maybe.
Nah, yeah, sure. No.
Uh,
All right.
bye.
Bye.